Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Duster Bus. Thanks for dropping in today. We are finally back in action on our 360 LA build. Sent stuff off to the machine shop. So last time I talked about, the work, the issues that we found, where our journal here, our rod journal number 2 was out of round and our deck was off square. So had to go back to the machine shop, and then that put some more questions of what other things could be off. So decided it was time to go back to machining and start over again. So what I want to do today, I'm going to recap the machining work that was done, along with a couple things that I learned along the way that I thought were really interesting and hopefully help somebody out. And then we're going to jump back into building it up again. So if you're just here for the action, feel free to jump ahead. Otherwise, let's talk about the work that was done. Probably the biggest thing was the crank. So I knew that this journal was off, but sent it in and they basically just went through everything, inspected it. So what they did was they went through and turned all of the different journals, so both the mains and the rods, everything is now 10 thou undersized. And I did buy myself a nice set of mics so that I could verify that everything was done correctly. And now that part is great, so we are good there. The other thing that they did, which I'm really happy that I had it done, was they balanced everything. So basically professionally balanced everything. So jumping over the rods, they took these apart, refurbished them, put new ARP bolts in it, and we're still using the pistons that I had before. Talk more about that in a little bit, because that's probably the one thing that I regret not thinking about. But they balance the whole rotating assembly, and I have a sheet. Let me show you a couple of things to call out on balance. So I went to the CWT website to learn more about it. Per the website, most production engines nowadays will have an imbalance of up to 2 ounce-inch. This Duster crank was actually pretty bad at 3.75 ounce-inch. All right, so that imbalance basically creates a parasitic load, and that load goes up the higher the RPM you're running. So if you see, before we had at 6,000 RPM, we would have had a imbalance load of 239 pounds, and the same one after balancing 18 pounds. So it's a substantial decrease in that parasitic load. So that is gonna help us out. That is the right way to do it. I feel good about that. It was expensive, and you can see here where they basically had to add some material to get the balance right. But now I feel like it's in good shape. All right, let's go over to one last thing to note. Because these were taken down and now everything is 10 thou undersized, had to buy some new bearings. So new main bearings, new rod bearings. So we're in good shape now. All right, over to the block. I knew it was off. I didn't have exactly the proper tool to measure it, but I was right. It was about 30 thousandths off, which is pretty bad on this deck height. So they remachined it all, got it all nice and flat, and it's still higher than I would like it to be. So right now from the top of the piston to the deck is 79 thousandths. I would like it to be a little bit less than that for better compression, but if we were to go any further, I would have had fit issues between the heads and the intake, and this will be fine the way it is. A couple other things that were done. They went ahead, they hot tanked it, inspected other stuff. They did go ahead and put in some new camshaft bearings. Yeah, since I didn't have the tool for that before, I went ahead and just had them put some new cam bearings in as well. So we're ready to start building this thing up now. One thing I did want to note on the compression is, I'm still learning stuff, and if I could have done one thing differently, I would have changed piston here, because the stock, this motor, I was actually really surprised. the book on these lists the compression stock at 8.4 to 1. By my calculations, this thing was probably more like 7.6 to 1, which is super low. Yeah, I was pretty shocked. But that's what it is. With, you know, that extra amount that was decked off, the same pistons, I'm pretty sure that these are the stock replacement, so they should look like that. We were down in the 7s on compression, so not very efficient, and you know that was intentionally done for emissions purposes, but this one was way under even what was advertised. So I have heard from some other folks that they've seen that as well, but I don't know, kind of weird. I was hoping that it was at the 8.4, and then with the changes that we were making, it was going to push us over 9. Unfortunately, now with the decking and with some lower thickness gaskets that I found, we're still only going to be at 8.4. We're going to get to 8.4, and that's with the stock heads that are 71 cc. Let me double check that. Yeah, 71 cc on the stock heads. Now I did go ahead and run some numbers of, it's not in the budget right now, but at some point I would like to change the heads out. Now if I drop to a 63 cc head, which I have found some of those for sale at fairly reasonable price, that is going to bring my compression up to 9 to 1, and that's a little more respectable. But at the 8.4, you know, it still gives the open door in case we want to do a supercharger or something down the road. This is really just a cruiser. I'm not trying to build a race car. It's a cruiser. It'll be fine. Now, if I could have started over again, though, I would have picked a piston that sits a little bit higher, would have taken up more of that cylinder space, and I would have been able to push that compression up a little bit, in which case I probably could have designed it to where my compression would have maybe been a little over 9 as it is, and then with a new head it would have gotten me around 10. You know, if I could have my way, I would have it around 10, but this will be fine. It was already balanced with these pistons. Too late to change it now. We're moving forward. All right, so that was a lot. Let's get to work. I had thrown out the idea of chucking this crank and going with a new stroker crank. The more I thought about it, I have not earned that stroker crank yet. You know, I haven't even gotten this to work. This is my first engine build. So I decided that I really just needed to get this to work. So that's why I went forward. Stroker crank, maybe something down the road, or maybe on a different car. But since this is just a cruiser and this crank was savable, decided to stay with that for now. Well, unfortunately, I hit a little bit of a wall. So I hadn't even thought to look at it, but all my piston rings got thrown away, which is a little annoying because they were all new. But they all got thrown away when this thing was in the machine shop. And you can't just walk into AutoZone and buy, or rather, AutoZone, O'Reilly, Napa, Advance. Those are the 4 out here. None of them, of course, carry anything for a 360 LA engine. So, gotta order parts. Take a couple days. So, seems to be a reoccurring theme, unfortunately. Sucks. but there's always more to do. So I'm behind on my sandblasting work. I got the mounts that I can clean up those, and I got a whole bunch of steering column stuff. So I think we're gonna do some sandblasting today. All right, blasting time. Starting with these motor mounts. Pretty beat. Still have some rubber in there. I don't know if I'll be able to get that out with the blaster, but we'll try that. Otherwise, sand that out. And then we got our new Energy Suspension 5.1106G Chrysler V8 motor mounts. All right. Using my usual, what is it, coal slag. Seems to work pretty well and does not have moisture issues. So let's make it happen. All right, so I tried a few different things to clean out that old rubber in there. Ultimately, die grinder with the sanding bit, just being careful with it, ended up working best for me. So we got those cleaned out pretty well, got these painted. Now, contrary to what the instructions say on these, so they gave me, and also the bomb is a little off, but I got two 1142s, two 1151s, and two 1143s. Now, two of them are easy. These go on the front on our flat sides. Here on the back, I did have to actually open this up a little bit. Otherwise, there's no way that I could get the bushing in with as bent in as they were originally. So I don't know if that's, everybody's gonna have to do that or not, but that's what I had to do. Now, between the 1142s and the 1151s, there is a difference in the thickness here, and it calls out using a different one for driver's side versus passenger side, but test fitting it in my K-member, I need to use the narrower one, so the 1151s on both of them. So I'm just going to use the same thing on both sides, 1151 and 1143s, and these 42s I'm actually not going to use. So this one I already did get built up. It takes a little bit to get them squeezed in there, but here we go, and quick test fit. All right, so I did come in here, and you know it's tight. That metal sleeve will go in there, and then this will squeeze in there, and we should be good. So I definitely don't need those taller ones on either side. So this is going to work well for both of them. All right, so I need to grab some new hardware for these, and then as soon as we get our bottom end painted up, as we get to that point, we'll get these bolted in place. So that is it for now. I got to get those piston rings in, and then we'll keep going on the bottom end. So should have that next week for you guys. So thank you all for watching. Got some, so I'm going to start doing some bloopers at the end here. Also, I did start an Instagram just because it's easier to DM me on there if anybody ever wants to DM me for anything. It's at Dusterbus Garage. So that's it, folks. Take care. Thank you again for watching. Thanks for dropping in to see what we got going on today. Take care. We'll see you next time. So, you know, did the MagnaFlux inspection. I'll probably cut that out because I really don't know too much about how that works. One other thing. Too many papers. All right. That doesn't make sense. Right side, left side. What the hell is this? I don't know how this shit works.